buy Bitcoin with breathe air. There's no second best, okay?
GM. So, trade of the day. Looking at a bit of a trend update. We have total 3. Close to flipping back into a bullish daily, 50, 100, 200, kind of early trend dynamic. From that perspective, looks good. Would still say dips are for buying, unless it loses this level here, 587. Then I would say dips are for buying. And it'll be quite selective. I think different alts are pumping at different rates. And you'll see, I think what you're going to see is a vastly, what would you call it? Vastly different performance between certain sectors in the next phase of this bull. And one of the things you would look at in comparing coins would be something like this, like 2021, just out of here. The vast difference in performance between coins in the second phase versus the first, right? So Solana versus Matic. Let's use Matic as an example. Show you kind of what I think is going to be happening here. So Matic over there, or would that be the best one? I mean, no. Kind of shows it. Some will do that, but I think maybe Link. Maybe Link's a better one. Just as an example here. Right. So, in the first wave, or big wave, early 2021, you had everything going up, everything going crazy, everything above its EMAs, right? 50, 100, 200 on the daily, boom, everything parabolic tops. May we crash down. Some coins were just getting started, such as Solana, such as Axie Infinity. Others were not. But everything off the lows had a big rally. So you look at like July, Solana grinded up. Link, big rally off the lows. Solana blasted off, new highs, boom, away it goes into the 200s. Link, just chopped around. You're going to see stuff like this where many of these coins will probably top out on their first bounce sometime around now, which might be something like a Sui, right, where it's had this really strong bounce and could absolutely go higher. You know, you'd have to watch and wait and see, does it follow the Solana path or not? Or does it do more of a chain link type of move, right? Really nice move off the lows, reclaims all those levels, right? It's reclaiming all the levels and the bands, and if it drops back here, I'm sure people are like, oh, let's buy the dip and buy the dip and buy the dip, and that might be all it does, while other stuff goes much, much higher. So just have in mind, that's how performance is probably going to be. It's actually, if anything, that is going to get even more extreme, in my opinion, because you're going to see a greater dispersion of these coins as the market kind of zones in on specific narratives or specific sectors, because it's really a very small amount of money in this market relative. A lot of big money is flowing into Bitcoin. Less of that flows through into the altcoin complex as a whole. Meme coins have their own, like they're like this own separate sector, which attracts a lot of retail interest and a lot of on-chain flows, which is great for meme coins as a whole, but really stops any of this other stuff from getting a sustained bid. And then, of course, the problem with meme coins is there's so many of them, you get this big diluted effect, as there's thousands of them and there's just not enough money to go around. So keeping that in mind, look at stuff now for this cycle and where we're at. You got like your Pepe's. Pepe is having a nice move off the lows, and Pepe has got one of the better chart structures for sure. I mentioned this on altcoin requests a couple of weeks back. Pepe has had only a 61.8% pullback off its bear market lows. Most other stuff pulled back much more. Back down into support. Nice rally up here. I would say if it's going to go from here, you're probably looking at your lower time frame trend levels. So you want to wait for some kind of correction and then see which are the strongest on the pullbacks. So quite often it doesn't reach to the 50 or even the 4-hour trend at all in the beginning. Oftentimes the first pullback you'll see will go somewhere into like this, and then it will continue higher like that. And you'll find that it's following the 1-hour EMAs and probably not going as far as the 200. And then when you zoom out to the 4-hour, you'll see that along that way, it doesn't actually touch the 2-hour, or it doesn't actually touch the 4-hour trend at all. So you don't get a chance if you're waiting on the 4-hour trend the first time, and it actually holds the 1-hour. So not Pepe specifically, but any of these coins, if we get some kind of chop or sideways or pullback, watch where they're coming into in their EMA trends. And then from there, that would be like the strongest type of setup if this is building up to have a bigger break to go much higher. And at that point, you usually get one proper correction into the 4-hour bands, then you get the final push, something like that. This would be like, if this is all going to come as once and we're not going to see a lengthy consolidation, this would be like the upwards accumulation phase. You then have a second leg kind of blast off, you then have a correction, and then you have a final push. So the best way for you to do this is just do extensive back testing through the EMA trends and understand how to get in, how to get out, and which ones are showing strength versus not, which you can see based on relative performance. So if you've got a list of all coins you're watching, when we pull back, look at which coins are pulling back to where are they in relation to their market structure. So like, don't forget your most important, which is market structure. This is Pepe's daily breakout level. Right, that's right at the BOS. That was a low, that was a high, that was a higher low. This is undoubtedly a higher high. So how does it pull back in the context of that trend? And then using that as your best guide for what to get long on the next pullback. The overall market, I think, where you're looking at Bitcoin has cleared through these levels, and I think it's going to go all the way to 70 at least. I mentioned this, it's why I bought my spot bags back when you had Bitcoin from the top to when it was over here, and it reclaimed that value area, which was, I had to draw it the other way actually, but anyway, the value area is around here. The point of control is there. The value area high is what matters. If we're looking at, I think it was here, right? Maybe it's because it's a different coin. Anyway, all of those value area highs, whether you draw it from top to bottom or you draw it to where we're at right now, the value area high is what matters. It's about 69, 70 there. It's about 70 to 71 up there. I think Bitcoin, since it's reclaimed all of these levels and spent a lot of time below and is finally moving up, I think it's going to make its way up to 70. That's not a massive move for BTC. So in that time, I would expect altcoins to probably continue outperforming. Bitcoin is most likely then to have a pullback, which probably sets the altcoins into their own corrections. And that's where you'll see the next, dips to buy, if you want to put it that way. But you have to keep the context, and don't forget that BTC is not yet in breakout bullish territory or whatever. It's doing well, right, from top to bottom. It has to get above all that to have a breakout. That means that if it continues trending into here and fails to break out, you can see a pullback even as low as 63, 64. It's that pullback that's going to drag alts down a lot and set up some of the proper dips to buy. And of course, then when Bitcoin starts to break structure again, that's where you're looking at your alts. As Bitcoin starts to move towards its highs, that's when alts will have their best, second legs, if you want to call it that, or look at it that way. If you look at some of these, we'll just go through a few. Pepe. So if this is the bottom, this is the first leg. Okay, this is not the first leg. This was a lower high bounce because it went to new lows. This was not the first leg because it came back to the lows and was a consolidation. If this is actually the beginning of a new trend, which it looks like it could be, then it's leg one. So ideally, leg one can keep going and you want to let it just go. And then there'll be some kind of correction, some kind of dip. And then you've got leg two and maybe leg three, if it does a classic 3-leg move, 3 pushes or whatever. But there's only really 2 ways this can go. Either this is the first leg of new bull market, and you go like leg 1, 2, 3, or this is sort of an early pump that comes all the way back, and then we go again later on. It's really only the two ways this can go if it's still a bull market. It either has begun, or it's this last kind of maybe one trap, we go back down, bleed people out one more time, and it goes up. If you look at it across the overall altcoin market, it's looking good. It certainly seems like a bottom could be forming. You wouldn't quite call this a trend leg yet. It hasn't really broken out. I mean, the trend leg proper began in October once it broke above the July highs, and certainly once it got above and held in November above the April highs, the 2023 highs. That's you're like, okay, that's a proper first leg. What do we get then? Second leg, consolidation, third leg. Don't rely on it to have three legs. Most trends do. Tend to have, you go from your accumulation into first breakout, people don't really want to touch it. Second breakout, people start to get in. Third breakout, everyone's in, and then it ends. That's why it tends to be three. This tends to be least crowded. This is like the consensus. Trend followers get in, and trend followers can make money. They do, right? And then you get the latecomers. So I don't see really this as even being the first leg. It could be. I would say if it breaks above there, it's pretty much confirmed that it is, right? At that point, you're looking at some kind of consolidation. Then leg 2 probably takes us to the highs, and then leg 3 might take us beyond the highs, but then back down. And we could see actually a slightly weaker trend overall, where it doesn't go like, oh, we're going to 10 trillion, whatever. Maybe you get all that. Remember, we had COVID 2.0, or COVID for that, sorry, so you need COVID 2.0 for that. Wouldn't rely on it necessarily. But still plenty of good trades, plenty of good longs, plenty of dips that can be bought, plenty of opportunity. Look at some other popular ones. WIF, is this the first leg? Right, that's all you should be asking yourself. Has the downtrend ended, and is this the first leg of the new bull, of the new wave? It's broken one structure level, right? So it's made a new high here. Great. Again, same thing for WIF, as it needs to go above there for me, because there's nothing to stop WIF going up as far as here, then falling back into like its 50 EMA or into these bands, right? And then having to consolidate there, and then it begins proper 1, 2, 3 from there. So most of what I see across these alts, obviously you look at like the SUIs, which have clearly, this is clearly leg 1. Like there's no doubt this is actually the breakout leg. But does that mean the SUIs going to new all-time highs? Because like I showed with Matic and Link and a few others, this could also be just SUI's not actually the best thing in the world, and it's just going to have a lengthy lower high complacency bounce over the next several months while the market goes and chases other things, right? I know Aptos, these mostly just picking these at random. These are ones that I've been looking at over the past little while. There's no leg 1 on Aptos yet. Let me get this. Right? The daily bands are still bearish, so they're fully in bearish formation. Again, a lot of these have nice bottom sort of structures, but I wouldn't say, oh, this is it. Like, that's one, and we're, oh, wait, yeah, I wouldn't say so. What else? Phantom had been moving. Is this a proper first leg? Yeah, I would say so. It's broken out above the July highs. Let me get rid of this shit. It's broken out above the July highs. It's also broken above those June highs. So it's breaking multiple levels of structure on the way up. And after a bottoming, pretty solid bottoming formation, moves up, consolidation. So what you'd be looking at then with Phantom would be continuation, would probably lead to the biggest leg, then a shallow correction, then a third leg, or what people think is a third leg, that takes out 2024 highs, and that's probably when most of the chasing begins. And if it has gone there without any significant pullback, that's likely to be a top. And you're going to see this on a lot of coins, that their eventual highs will come either around their 2024 high or just below it. Some of these will make lower highs, some of them will make higher highs. And the stuff that's going to go significantly higher is probably going to be newer things. And it's kind of interesting to start to look at some of these shit coins that launched over the past months. Right, many of these that launched too late, sort of in early 24, launched and they've been down only. Many of these will actually just build into nice rounded out bottoms where they could see some kind of nice trend towards their highs again. And again, for a lot of them, it's going to just look like that. But there's still some decent trades. ZK falls into this too. Right, from ZK's launch, down only. Now it's reclaiming the 50, starting to move up. The way you want to see these moves, they probably move choppy. Then there'll be some sign of a little bit of life. There'll be a move up, a sharp dip, and if it gets bought up, a lot of these will move through into new highs as well. And it's all going to pop off. There is a structure to it where we generally have a few months where the whole market rises, but stuff goes off at random points throughout that. I don't think you'll see everything rallying all at once. And where are these other ones? I think I had a list, didn't I, of these new coins. New charts. Beam's not that new anymore. Say, not that new anymore. Celestia, here we go. I mean, I wouldn't touch this thing, but no. Zeta. Yeah, stuff like this. Stuff like this that has just never really had a trend yet is probably going to have one at some point, right? Because they had their launch and they all topped out pretty much around launch and they've had significant declines. So like something like Manta, you're looking at that. Obviously, bands are completely bearish on all time frames there. But as this thing starts to move through the levels, you can see it move like that, right? It can move back up into the gap. It probably doesn't go to new highs. A lot of this stuff is just trash. Jupiter, probably better than most. Launched, had a consolidation, popped off, came back into support. Seems quite decent there. As it rises, probably from there, when it takes those highs, if there's a dip back, reclaim, it'll go to new highs. Because a lot of this stuff, targeting new all-time highs in 2-3 months when we're all hyped and bullish again, is when people are like trying to buy breakouts, and that's a likely top area. Pith, Gito, Alt, Ondo, GTA. Ondo, don't really have a strong opinion on that. And it's not to say any of those coins are good. I think you know this. I'm just saying that some of the newer stuff that hasn't had runs yet can be under-owned because it never really had any pumps and people have just kind of forgotten about it or memory hold it. Some of that stuff can do well. My advice is keep your list small. Don't try and focus on 20 or 30 or 40 different coins. Understand that if you assume that the next 3 to 6 months is broadly going to be bullish, right? Meaning doesn't go up only, but over the next few months we go up in general, then at certain points, certain coins will pump. If you're tracking a smaller number of coins and you're actually checking in them every day and you're keeping an eye on your systems, right? You're following, okay, I need to see this reclaim these bands. I need to see it reclaim these levels. It has to come back and retest this area. This is the market structure. If you follow a smaller number of coins and you're disciplined and diligent, you will get your entries on your swings on those ones. If you're trying to follow 20 or 30 or 40 coins, all that's going to happen is you're going to have a coin on your watch list. You're going to forget about it. It's going to pump 40% in a day. You're like, fuck, I missed that one. I was watching that one. You were trying to watch too many things. Don't split your attention too much. The only goal over the next few months is to be exposed long spot. So if you've got your spot bags with Bitcoin or whatever your major is, good. And your swing trades alongside that, if you're a swing trader, should be, I want to make some swing trades that end up net profitable. There's going to be some losses, but the wins are bigger than the losses because my system has positive EV. And then at the end of it all, you've made some money. And hopefully, because you're not getting caught up in euphoria, if we even get there, whatever, you're watching closely for signs of overall market weakness, too much leverage coming in, too much overexuberance, euphoria signs, whatever. And then you're exiting. You're exiting after the top, not at the top. You're exiting somewhere after the top and getting back into cash. You've made profits. You can stack more Bitcoin or whatever you want to do with it. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Everything moves really quickly at the beginning because you have this first kind of FOMO. Holy shit, are we back? We need to go. Look, you don't have to catch the bottom. Nobody ever does. Well, always somebody will catch the bottom, I guess, but not consistently all the time, over time. And don't live in the past. I said this in trading analysis yesterday. If you think like, I didn't catch the bottom, you don't make money in the past. If you didn't catch the bottom, that has no bearing on your next trade. And if you don't catch the next top, that has no bearing on your next trade. It's about getting in somewhere near the bottom when you feel it's confirmed, and getting out somewhere after the top when you feel it's confirmed. Right? It's like you don't have to be in fucking Ondo on day one or Ondo at the very bottom here. If you're in after the breakout and you're out after the breakdown, that part there is more than enough. Because you can do that, get out, repeat over and over and over again. It's a long-term game. Focus on systems, focus on process, focus on rules. Everything you could feel can be removed by rules, by processes. If you feel FOMO, there should be a rule for that. If you feel like you want to get in or get out, you should have a system that tells you when. And if you don't, build them. That's what bootcamp's there for. And if you feel like bootcamp, oh, I've only just joined white belt or I've just got to blue belt, the next 3 months, like Michael and Adam and everyone thinks it's going to be bullish, oh shit, but I'm going to be dollar trading, I'm not going to make any money. I've heard this every fucking time. For 3 years now, doing the real world, at every point, I've heard people who are new or inexperienced traders saying, but what if I miss out? And I said, you won't. If you try to play this before you understand, right, before you've done the work to build systems, test them, before you've done the work to develop a process, to be professional, to manage risk, you're just going to lose. You might make a bit of money in the short term because everything goes up for a little while, but you won't know when to sell it. You'll be flip-flopping and trying to change narratives, and you'll end up worse. Because you think that the bull market only exists for the next 3 months. That's what FOMO is. It's like, but what if we only go up until January and then it's all gone and there's 10Xs and 20Xs and I miss them all? People said that to me in August and September of 2021. Real World started in July 2021. And I remember August, September, October, the exact same thing. Michael, I've just started, I need to get long, I've got these 10 coins in my wallet, what do I do? And I was like, you don't know what you're doing yet. Step back. You're trying to trade to get rich quick. You're trying to trade for the super short term. You think you need to make it all now. I said, if you focus on building yourself into the correct type of trader, you will be able to play the market profitably for years to come. Many people listened, but many didn't. And what they do, they ended up making money on paper in July, August, September, October of 21 and getting wrecked in December 21 and all of 2022 when the whole market went bearish because they hadn't built systems, they didn't know how to trade it, they couldn't trade on the short side, they couldn't exit their bags, they didn't have a process, they didn't have risk management. And then you're a year and 3 months later and you're no better off. Whereas if somebody just focused on the learning process, they may not have made loads of money in October, November, July, August, September, October, November 2021, but they built the foundation. And then they were able to protect themselves throughout 2022 by not overexposing. And then guess what? By the time the bottom came in December 2022, they had a year and 4 months of proper trading and proper learning, and they absolutely crushed the next wave, 2023, and even into now. The market will trick you into thinking that this is the last time, this is it. People have thought that for 14 years with Bitcoin. This is it. If I don't catch this pump, that's it. Nope. There's always something trending. There's always a way to trade. There's always opportunity. But until you build your own process, you're not going to be able to capture it. So if it's not right now, that's fine. Play the long game. Otherwise, you'll end up in the landfill with the skeletons of millions of other traders who aren't really traders, that just gambled it and wrecked it. GM.